Hello everyone, and I'm Ms. Emily, and thank you for joining me again for another STEM video. Additional videos are available at the OLPL YouTube page. Here's a link to help you get there. Now hopefully you have picked up your bag of supplies from the Youth Services Department. It contains everything you need to make this kaleidoscope. Ooh, fabulous kaleidoscope. Now let's go through the bag to make sure you have all your pieces. You should have one chipboard tube, one piece of blank paper, one black piece of construction paper, one piece of plastic film, one piece of wax paper with a piece of clear tape on it, some tissue paper triangles, and a piece of paper with a hole in it. And yes, it is okay if one of the little notches here is cut. We'll get to that in just a minute. Now, to complete your kaleidoscope, you will also need to have a few items of your own. Some clear tape, some crayons or coloring items, and a pair of scissors. Before we assemble the kaleidoscope, let's learn how it works. Now, visible light is the light that we actually see in our eyes, and it is reflected off of shiny materials. This mirror, for example, is very shiny, and you can see the light reflecting right into the camera there. Now we are going to be making a triangular prism from this clear plastic and this piece of black construction paper. Triangular prism. You can see the triangle that I made. Ooh. Triangular prism. Now, the way a kaleidoscope works is that it takes the items on the outside of the kaleidoscope and the light goes through this triangular prism and the light reflects and bounces off of these different sides inside there. Bing, 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 bing. And it makes it look in these really cool patterns. It almost makes your items multiply in front of your eyes. Can you believe kaleidoscopes are over 200 years old? They were doing math and angles way before me. Now, let's get this kaleidoscope together. The first thing you want to do is take this white piece of paper that you have and you want to color it, design it. It's much easier to decorate this piece of paper when it's flat and on the ground, and we can wrap it around our chipboard tube. So let me open up my crayons here. And I'm going to make some pretty fall leaves since it's fall out right now. So I'm going to start with my red crayon. And I'm going to make some red leaves. There's a red leaf that I drew. Now I'm going to use my orange crayon for an orange leaf. There's my orange leaf. And then I'm going to use my yellow to make a yellow leaf. Now you can make whatever you want on this, but do know that your paper does go around your tube and there will be a little bit of overlap. So you don't have to draw all the way to the edges. So I'm going to put some little yellow leaves in here. You can be as creative as you like. You can use markers, pens, pencils, crayons, whatever you like. So we're going to put this off to the side for right now. We'll be needing that in just a little bit. All right, next, what we want to do is we want to take our piece of wax paper here, and we want to carefully remove the clear piece of tape from the wax paper. And we don't want to rip the wax paper. So we have our piece of tape. I'm going to take that piece of tape off and I'm going to let it sit on the table there. Now, what's pretty cool with this is that I'm going to take my pieces of tissue paper here and I'm going to cut them into teeny tiny pieces onto this tape. And I like teeny tiny pieces versus large pieces, but you can do whatever you like. So I'm going to do teeny tiny pieces, and I'm cutting them right over the tape so that it sticks on there. And you gotta be tricky, because again, you can do this however you want. If you have a hole punch and you want to make round pieces, if you want to make triangles, if you want to rip them instead of cut them, you can. But since it's so teeny tiny, for me, it's easier to use my pair of scissors very carefully. Alright, I had a few pieces that came off of the tape, so I'm just picking them up and putting them on the paper. Then I'm going to take my other triangle of tissue paper and I'm going to add it to there. And for this, I'm going to do some large triangles over the top of my stripy. Now again, you can do this however you want. I'm going to push these pieces of tissue down on my tape. Do a couple more triangles on here. This one there. Do one last one here. Alright, so you can see my tissue papers on the tape. Then I'm going to reattach it onto my wax paper here. Now it's on top of my wax paper, all stuck together, all in one piece. Next, I want to be able to use my piece right here and notice all these little lines that are on here. We want to cut just on these straight lines all the way around. When you do that, it'll look like this. And you want to fold down each of those little tiny pieces. So it looks sort of like a lion's mane. because these pieces are going to actually go around your tube like this, and it's going to seal down. Now, if you want to use glue instead of tape, you can, but I found, for me personally, it was easier to use some tape, and I don't have the regular clear tape that you have on the tape dispenser. I only have this big packaging tape, so I'm just going to cut it into little strips and stick those strips on my table. So it sort of looks like pieces of tape that I would normally cut from a tape dispenser. That should be good. And I'm just going to use this paper clip on here so that I have easy access to my tape when I need to open it back up. So then on here, I'm going to take my pieces of tape and I'm just going to tape down, actually I'm going to make these even smaller. And I'm going to tape down a couple of these little tabs. I'm going to go from one side and flip it over to the opposite side. And it's okay if you don't tape all of the tabs down. Some of them can be sticking up and not all the way down. When we add that piece of paper that we colored on, it's going to cover all those. Now, there's a little hole in that piece of paper that we punched. So the reason why we did that is because this is where you're going to put your eye, is on that little, look through that little hole. Oh, and I could see you, but there's no triangular prism in here. So to me, it just looks like a telescope or a monocular with one hole looking through. But I want to make the kaleidoscope. So I have my shiny plastic on the inside and the black construction paper on the outside, and we already pre-folded these, so you just have to make sure, push those down, and if you need an adult to help with taping, or a brother or sister, an aunt or an uncle, that's fine too. You can always ask for help. I have lots of experience building kaleidoscopes over the years. So now that I push down those seams, I have a really nice triangular prism there. I can flip over, so I have a big opening to slide my triangular prism in. It should go right in. Then I'm going to take my piece of wax paper and I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to fold it and tape down the corners. So again, I'm using my tape. So I'm going to put it right in the center. So I have all my pretty colors there. One side there, and I'm going to turn it around for the other end. And tape that. And then I am going to repeat for these other two corners here. Now if you notice on my circle, we cut it. If you want to make a few little cuts in here too, to flatten it out, doop, doop, you can do that too. That way it can be folded over a little bit easier. Go right ahead. If you don't want to cut, I'm not going to cut this side over here. I'm just going to push it down. And it looks like I do need another piece of tape, and that's okay. Oops. All right. Now, doesn't look very fancy fancy like this, so that's why we have our beautiful picture, and need another piece of tape so I can tape that beautiful picture that I drew. I'm going to cut this tape a little bit smaller. There we go. And put it on the edge of my table so I can use that. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to wrap it around. And I'm going to use my clear tape to tape it down. And here is my kaleidoscope with my beautiful fall leaves on there. I look through the little tiny hole and I hold the end with the wax paper and the tissue paper on there up to my light source and I can take a look. Whoa! It looks like there is fall leaves inside of my tube, and as I turn it, the image almost seems to change. Pretty cool. Does your image change when you do it? Is the image what you expected? So thank you for watching this program, and hopefully you will be looking for additional STEM activities coming soon in the Youth Service Department. Thanks. Bye-bye.